Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So just giving a formal beginning to this formal period. Formal period means everybody's forming together, conforming for what that can bring around, which is a sense of group resolution. We hold a resolution together, that gives us each individual strength and a sense of, widening our attention to get a sense of the group and the group rhythm and the group sequence and the sequence of the days. Whereas many of us have been on self-retreat where, it's like, what feels right, how's it going, try to monitor your own needs and issues. Using a group form to widen, extend and derive the benefits from that. They both have their benefits, of course. But essentially, Sangha is a group form. So even if you're on your own, you try to recollect, or you should recollect the examples, the lineage, the training, all these things that the group helps us to, embed what our common standards are. Those begin to get embedded. So in a way we are each lineage bearers of, what the Sangha has moved through and considers true and essential. In the group we come back to really holding that together. These heart qualities. Unified heart. In a sense of the field, it's not a particular point, particular idea, it's a general field awareness. You sensitize to the field of, what you're living in, what's supporting you, what has been given, what you can bring forth. Chitta effects. The movement from self as a centre to purity, awareness, some other central focus, which is able to sensitize to that field and carry it forward specifically. How does this individual being support, align to, attune to, carry forth this field of Dhamma? That's our individual centre, rather than a self-centre, which is me and my history and my weak spots and strong points and things I feel passionate about, things I don't really care about. And so this is called the last week of the retreat, but I like to recommend and suggest that we don't we extend the retreat beyond this week, in fact for the rest of our lives, and just open it to a wider field of influence and effect. possible. Because it's contained within this sense of ethical boundaries, heedfulness, mindfulness. So it's not just an open, amorphous space of anything goes. It's contained and yet open at the same time. And then this is a safe place where, the various streams of consciousness can stream in and be filtered, which the predominant problem is the mind consciousness, mano-vijnana. It just pops any old thought, impression into the heart and gets us stirred up. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good, and our practice is being able to filter that. So that, what we call the retreat or form of meditation practice is a great, necessary, I feel, occasion for really, looking at these rudimentary issues. There's field awareness, chitta affected, there's the mind popping things in, there's the need to sustain a steadiness, and yet be open to what the mind brings in, and then filter out what's skillful, what's unskillful, and then what we're going to act on and how that's going to happen. That's a process, isn't it? It's our living process. So we look at it again, and formal practice, recognizing we have these tools of attention, which is always about points. Attention gives us a particular point, a sensation, a thought, a focal point. It's a point experience. Things, it creates dhammas. Attention gives rise to dhammas, to phenomena, to objects, particular points that land, and they have awareness which receives that. Like throwing pebbles into a pond. Attention gets the pebble, drops into the pond resonates, ripples, and then what comes back? Has to kind of be felt, sensed, and grounded, so we're not just shaking and rocking around with the effect, and that's what we use body for. So again, but this body is not the body that we establish as an idea, or even a series of sensations, which are all point experiences, this point, that point, this feeling, that feeling. It's a whole body, it's a field, bodily field. So when the Buddha talks about walking, sitting, standing, reclining, leaning, these are not sensations. These are awareness of the whole field of the body as it moves and conjoins and activates and rests, Getting that, what do you pick up when you shift from points into a whole field? This takes a little bit of doing, because clearly point attention is the attention that we value. It's our intelligence. It's one form of intelligence. It's the reader, the thinker, the annotator, the mathematician. It pops from this point to that point and it forms a line or a conclusion. But it's all abstract. But it certainly gets along. But unless there's some awareness which senses the emotional tone of that, we can be forming all kinds of conclusions and ideas that aren't really based upon an ethical or a loving or a compassionate or wise ground. It's evident in human beings. All this massive intelligence we have as human beings, up in our heads, and yet very destructive creatures. If there's a ground in ethics and kindness, brilliant minds, but confused, corrupted hearts. I have to say the heart is then the most important thing to develop, because we've got plenty of mind, plenty of thought, plenty of attention. It's easy. The heart, and then grounding it, because the problem with the heart is it gets rocked and flooded by emotional tides, passions, anxieties, fears, depression. And then the body acts as a field of the body, acts as a kind of a grounding place. You're here now. Body is only here and now. It can't do anything else. It just does that. On that, we contemplate body in this sense. That's what it is. It's the here and now experience. Mind doesn't really get that. You can form ideas about it, but well, how long is a here? Where is a here? Is it this point or that point? Is it now a microsecond or a nanosecond or 5 seconds? Trying to measure something that doesn't fit within the realm of measurement, of attention. But with awareness you can sense, oh, now it's just poised, there's no pushing into the future, they're not carrying the weight of the past. That's what we call the now. You can't measure it in terms of clock time. It's a realm where the future isn't dragging us forward and the past isn't weighing on us. And we're not clamping down, trying to hold on. It's a very fluid, open medium. Yeah. And when we cultivate natural processes of the body, move through that. The breath is not in a hurry to get anywhere. It doesn't plan the next in-breath. When you're walking, just letting the body walk, the body doesn't really, want to arrive anywhere. Just this, all the body wants to do is not fall over and keep that fluidity. And then, we move forward. But that's not the body's concern, it's the mind's concern. Get me to that place. But you notice if you follow that, you're often kind of rushing forward, even not geographically forward, but psychologically forward. How do I get to that thing I want to be at? How do we get to the conclusion? And the body says, you'll get there, it'll happen. If you stay composed, it'll happen. So you see, even kind of like athletes who are running, clearly they want to get to the checkered flag, or whatever it is, the finishing line, but they can't hold that. What they're holding is heartbeat, pulse rate, energies, what's actually happening in the body, and monitoring it and regulating it and understanding it. So that they're not straining and and they're in balance, and then they get there. It happens, it must happen, but your attention is fundamentally on how this body is operating in harmony. So when you do walking meditation, you're actually running 1,000 meters, but it's that kind of thing, where so often the mind will come in, how long am I going to do this for? Half an hour, 45 minutes, have I done enough of this? Or Can I get to samadhi through this? Am I get somewhere? Will my mind become quiet? You see, it's still destination fever. You see, and using walking meditation to break out of destination and yet still have movement. You're finding balance and presence in the moving experience. And space is opening around you, around the body. Can you, when you do walking, can you just draw it back to that? Just like swimming, You're feeling the flow in the body and sensing it, censoring the pressure of the back leg as it pushes, and the openness of the front of your body as the back leg lifts and pushes the body forward. And there's just that little tip, because often we think we move forward with our front, but the front leg can't move forward. It's in thin air. It's the back leg that pushes, and the front then moves forward. But the hasty person is always running on thin air. It's like that's why they're out of balance, physically and psychologically. We're running on what should be, could be, what we hope we're going to get to, and that is thin air. And you walk from your back foot, pushing down, letting the body rise and move forward. Then the heart begins to get that signal. Just touch the ground, stay steady, and do a smooth, composed push. Lead, direct, and then keep with it so it's flowing and balanced. So you can learn a lot about life and activity and desire through walking. Because clearly there's some kind of motivation, chanda, motivation, interest, we're walking. But the tanha, which is the craving to get somewhere, you transmute that tanha, which is, can I get somewhere where I'm not, into chanda, which is, can I be fully here and just bring forth energy in the right way, monitoring, the right way, mindful, clear, wise, and then something's going to happen for sure. And all you can know about what will happen is based upon what you're doing now. Otherwise it's just fantasy, theory, programming, inference. So training. And you can take it down to a breath. There's that flow of in-breath and out-breath. So when you breathe out, you let it all go. Don't try to count it or monitor it, just let it really drop down through the body, let the body empty it. Let the body open. In-breath's going to happen. You don't have to plan it. So you can use breathing also as a way of just unseating the measuring mind. And yet, we're attentive to it, to that process. We're monitoring it, but then the mind is the servant rather than the master. So you can, so this is like formal practice, things like of this nature. Remembering, fundamental rule is that as living beings, or as intelligent beings, as compassionate beings, as ethical beings, what we bring forth is the priority. What comes to us is what happens, but you can't exactly predict that. But what you bring forth is what counts. So what comes to you is sense consciousness, what you bring forth comes from the heart, from Chitta. And there's that training to purify the heart. So Citta Pariyodapanam, as we were reciting this morning. So Citta Pariyodapanam, purifying the heart, purifying the mind. So it's not fearful, pressurized, domineering, harsh, faltering, dithering, obsessive, vacuous, just, I don't know. It's really, engaged with itself. So this is how we cultivate, in essence. And then we have to deal with the mind streams. Can't expect it not to do that, it's supposed to do that. The mind stream is a very strong aspect of consciousness, the dominant one, flooding into the field. And, okay, this is what we're going to have to use for our thinking and speaking. So as it comes pouring in, actually, that one's, what's it really mean? This is anxiety, this is wish, this is plan, this is hope, this is aspiration, this is good intention, this is, what's it bringing in? You filter out, what's the response to that? Patience, steadiness, eagerness, ardour, clear intention. So this is where you come down to the rudiments of how we operate. And of course that's going to play out in terms of physical actions, speech, what we talk about, where we go and so forth. But really in this life we've kind of given that up. Doesn't mean we don't do it, just we've given up really attaching to it. You go where it's possible, you eat what's possible, what arrives. You do what's possible, you build what those funds arrive for. You don't arrive, you don't build. It's kind of, because that's how it is. You work with what you got. You've got 3 people in the monastery, you do 3 people's work. You've got 20 people, you do 20 people's work. And it's knowing, completely moderating just the realities of what we're coming in, making that so that the aspirations and wishes are then filtered through the realities of what comes in. So this meeting place of the two. Naturally, when we come to formal practice, meditate, most of us don't really want to think about the future. I don't want to think about it. But that's reasonable, and yet, let's be a bit more mature. We don't think about the future as something we've already got written in. We recognise the potential, what's important to connect to. So instead of being dragged by the future, you form the future out of what's really useful, helpful to connect to as we go through these changes. Your possessions, your relationships, your duties, your health, responsibilities, and just kind of sensing what What do you want to bring forth in that? What qualities, what heart qualities can illuminate this mundane world? And these are questions that have no, specific group answer, because they're point questions, that they arrive at a point which is going to be individual for each of us. But you always take it back to when you think of something in the future, or what you want to do, what you think you have to do, expect, what does it bring up? Pressure, agitation, or just sense of purpose? Clear purpose. Bring up. Worry about whether I'm going to succeed or not, or is it a sense of, is this truthful? Is it manageable? So this just sense, this wise recollection helps to connect the world of attention, consciousness, to the world of the heart. Naturally, meditation itself is, as a construction, is aimed at thought reduction, lessen the volume, purify the content. Certainly aimed at that, being able to just step it down a few decibels, lessen the velocity. Not as a final end, but it's definitely a remedial process whereby you can begin to discern in that flood of thought how many of these are carried along through just casual habit, which is time to say goodbye to, or delusion, or various forms of inaccuracy. And you're filtering it because you can begin to sense, if you regulate the current, the emotional heart qualities that they are evoking and perhaps inspired by, directed by. And this is the process that we can undertake in formal practice, so that we clean our house. And it's not something you do in a week, it's you do it every day. You do it every day for your life. Gradually that stream becomes clearer, more steady, you feel more confident in what you're going to be doing. And then one attains confidence. And the heart comes together, things come together. This is a living concentration, collected, focused. These are aspirations and encouragement for this next few days, and hopefully some of it carries through in the long term as we continue to practice the path.